Hey YouTubers, Mike B back with another video. It's long overdue, I think. I should have probably made one of these like a year or two ago. This could potentially save you a lot of money. Today we're going to go over how to identify a reproduction World War II German, particularly M35 Stahlhelm, versus an original. Just some quick ways to tell this isn't like a comprehensive, in-depth, under a microscope thing. This is like you're at an antique mall or a gun show or a military show and you see a German helmet that looks really real, but you're not quite sure, and you know, it might be a good deal and you don't want to pass it up if it is real, etc., etc. So I found myself in that situation many times, and I figured I'd make a video on what I've learned and how not to get burned. I've seen other people get burned and it's not fun. I've almost burned myself, thank God I didn't have enough money. And so here we go. First of all, I've got, for comparison here today, I've got one of the best M35 repros that I've actually seen. I got this back in 2009 or 2008, somewhere around there, from some place in China that doesn't exist anymore, some company, and it's actually one of the better M35 repros for reenacting. I totally suggest getting something of this quality, but nevertheless, it is a reproduction. Got decals on it. It's a double decal M35 hair helmet. So to compare it with something similar, actually totally identical, I've got an original M35 double decal hair helmet. Hair is Army, H-E-E-R, if you guys didn't know that. It's not a Luftwaffe or anything because of decals. Sorry, I just kind of take it for granted that not all my viewers might be on the same level of nerdery that I am, so I apologize if I say things and I don't explain it. I'll try my best to do that. So that's what I've got here for comparison. Obviously, on the left, we've got the reproduction. For those of you that have seen my M35 Stahlhelm video, that's how you can tell. But for those that don't know these two particular helmets, so you're at a gun show, okay, or a military show, and some guy says he's got an original M35, and he wants $700 for it, or $1,000 if it's got two decals. The way you can really tell is get yourself an original from like a reputable source, pay a lot of money, or just watch this video. The shape of the shell, it might be pretty close, but they're actually not spot on. Oh, by the way, these are both supposed to be size 68 shells, and that's what I find really cool. It's like an exact repro of the exact original that I got. So for this, you've got size 68 shells. Now you can see, obviously, the flare is a lot deeper and longer on this one than the original than it is on the repro. And see on the repro how it kind of like goes down and then sort of comes up in the back a little bit? Well, on the original, it's not going to do that. It's going to go down and it's going to stay down. It's going to stay down relatively uniform all the way around. So you gotta look at it kind of closely. Take your time with this. Don't get all excited, or try not to get all excited. And you'll notice that this flare, this little skirt right here, is a lot more shallow, and it isn't as long, I'm talking long this way, than the original. As far as the actual slope itself on either side, they're pretty similar. So that's why I say this is a pretty decent repro. And if you don't have it up against an original, you really couldn't tell that much. But that's why I'm doing this, because it's obviously you might not have an original to compare the repro or the potential repro to. So you'll see that this is just kind of a deeper skirt. Because it's such a big helmet, it's kind of more defined and pretty easy to check out. The smaller helmets are going to be a little bit more compact, and the vent rivets, which we'll get to in a second, are going to be a little bit closer together, but nevertheless the skirting is still going to be a lot deeper than on a repro. I've yet to see a repro, M35 specifically, have the depth of skirting that the originals do. What I think they do is they measured the skirt on their original that they probably copied it off of, the total length, and they made this the total length, and then they folded the rim under, which we'll get to in a second too. That's what I think happened, which is a good thing because that's a pretty easy way to tell. So if it's just not the depth and you're not comfortable with it, it's better to walk away. You'll always get a deal down the road. That's the first way the first thing I look at when I pick it up is just the general shape of the shell. Okay, other side, same thing, but I only need to really show you one side. So I mentioned the vent holes, right, the rivets. On an M35, it's obviously a separate piece, as you may or may not know. The Model 40 and the 42 versions are just a stamped vent in the liner itself, or I'm sorry, in the shell itself, and they're not like a separate rivet right here like this is. This is an actual piece that is later put into the helmet after the shell is punched out and the holes are drilled. Obviously they got rid of these in the Model 40 version to reduce production time, and it serves the same purpose. However, for an M35, this one isn't horrible, right? First of all, you gotta look at kind of the spacing per size. So on a 68, you're gonna have a couple inches decent space, so the Repro got it pretty close. Alright? But here, we'll kind of turn these. I'm gonna try to move the camera a bit, possibly. I don't know, it's pretty hard to do this solo. Anyway, so you see how this really, the profile of this one really isn't that drastic, and this one sticks out a little further. Okay, now I've seen some that are close to that, depending on what factory it was made at on the originals, but generally speaking, you're not going to have like this vent hole, or this vent rivet or whatever, that sticks out as far. It's going to be more of a low profile. I'll give you kind of a close-up of this. It's going to be lower profile, it's going to be kind of smoother. Right there, you can see that. It doesn't stick out as far. That's another little trick that I use. It only works on an M35, of course, because M40s and 42s are different. So yeah, that's one way, but that's not a surefire way of telling. And the size of the actual vent hole, like that one compared to this one, the original is going to be a little bit bigger, actually. Most of the vent holes that's really hard to get these. These are so damn big. I wish they were like 62s. Put them together. Alright, there you go. You can kind of see that. See, the one on the left is a little bit smaller than the one on the right. The actual hole itself, not the rivet. So that's another little way to tell them a little bit. Now, since we're this close, and you can see this decal, which is actually not a bad Repro decal. It passes the even 2-foot test, like for out in the field. Nobody's going to be looking that close at it. It looks pretty decent, right? It's right below the vent hole, just like this one. Obviously, this is used, but here's the thing. These can be made, like these decals on the left, these Repro ones, can be made to look like this. But there are a few ways to tell that yours is original, and if you watch my other video on how I determined that this was an original decal, you'd know that. I'm going to try to angle this a little bit here. I don't know if it's going to angle. Anyways, there's like a foil backing on this that I don't think any Repros have had those. Maybe a couple, but I think those are already in collections somewhere being passed off as originals. So as far as I know, most decals now are water transfer, and they're just like this. They don't have a foil backing on them or anything, and they just don't look that good. Now, there's obviously more you can get into as far as the actual Eagle design itself, blah, blah, blah. 9 times out of 10, if you see an SS helmet run, we're just talking about Army helmets, so you've got that foil backing on it, it's probably going to be okay. And then just look at the paint underneath it, too. Like, you can tell that's the original paint. This decal's been there since the helmet was made. You know, and it looks relatively old and stuff, so you got that going for it. The decals are a big thing, a big indicator that it's a fake. Because even if they've got it all painted up like this, if you just look and it doesn't have that foil backing, or it's in like too good a shape and something doesn't look right, that's a pretty surefire way to tell that decal is fake and it's not worth what they actually want for it. So this is just aesthetic things that people will do to add like age. Like they'll make something like this, which is a pretty decent actually color for a Repro. The Apfelgrün. This has got the 2 layers of paint on it. Obviously, like in the other video, it's the M40 kind of Dunkelgrau paint over the Apfelgrün original M35 paint. So it's pretty similar. So you can actually make a helmet like this look just like this, if you know what you're doing. I'm not going to make a video on that because I hate when people do that and try to sell it off as originals. But you can do this. So now I think we're going to get to the liner itself, right? 'Cause this is like the second thing I look at. I look at the shape. The weights are pretty similar. I think they're off by about 1 ounce, right? But that might be the liner materials, age, whatever. The original is about 1 ounce, and 1.1 ounces heavier than the Repro. So I don't know why that is. Could be a number of things, but they're so close that it really, you can't really, there's not a noticeable difference just by picking it up. So from the front too, you'll notice that the Repro has got a pretty wide flare as far as the flare that sticks out. The angle's just kind of wider. It's not really compact more like this one is. It's more kind of straight down instead of like sticking out like they think it does. If you can kind of see that on the video. Hopefully you can. So, one thing that I've noticed, unless it's improved recently, is a little detail, but like here, let me pop these off really quick. Or this off. So you got the chin strap, right? And the thickness is very similar and everything, but most of the chin straps that I've seen as repros are going to have that stamped on the tip of the chin strap, if they have any stamped. So the thickness is about the same. This one's obviously the original, so it's a little bit more aged. And these feel almost identical. That's the scary part. Like they're like the same width and everything. Like they copied these things exact. You can see that. It's just awesome. You know, for historical accuracy. For fakes, that kind of sucks. But again, this one just doesn't have 80 years of storage, you know, on it, and it's a little bit less of a quality wool. Yeah, we got a wool chin strap here that looks just like leather. A little bit lower quality leather because this is only 7 years old or 8 years old, and it's already cracking. Whereas the original ones are cracking less, and they're 70 plus years old. So we're getting there. As far as the chin straps, that's also not a surefire way. It's just another little detail you can look at. I forgot what this original one was stamped with. We'll go ahead and check this out. But like, there's more than R. Larson 1939 to be stamped on chin straps. Oh yeah, this is the replacement one that in the other video. So this is made in 1944. It's a replacement. It's actually an M42 liner, which I'm not going to get into because it's not about this helmet on the video. But check out my other video on the original, and it's kind of an interesting story about the liner and such. But yeah, anyway, so that's what an original looks like. Other than that, the chin straps are identical, so that's pretty creepy. I can't really go into any detail. Usually, like if a helmet was used and it looks like this on the right, like my original, it's not going to have the dome stamp left. It's going to be like sweat out, or the water is going to eventually have gotten to it, so I'm really not going to go there. If yours is a dome stamp and it's in mint condition, probably a red flag. They do exist, but not that many of them. So, alright, and one of the things that I still can't find any repro that does it totally correct is the maker stamp. Actually, specifically the maker and size stamp, okay? So right here, you can see it says ET68, right? But you'll notice how it's like really crooked and like just, you could tell somebody did it by hand that was doing it really fast and didn't really give a shit. So they stamped that, and then you've got the lot number right there, which is okay. I mean, depends on the maker, but ET obviously is the most popular maker. So what's weird is that's down here right by the rim, okay, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's probably not what you think, but it's right down here close to the rim. Now, on all the originals that I've come across and that I own, it doesn't matter what maker mark it is, the stamp is up here, and it's really neat. It's really uniform. It's not crooked, cockeyed, whatever, especially on an M35 when they're not cranking them out as fast as they were the 40s and the 42s. So that's just another red flag for me, is if the stamp is all dicked up. Here's the lot number on this one. It's very uniform. It's almost dead center in the back. M35s are, I mean, most people try to fake 40s and 42s, but this is how you can tell an M35, obviously. I can't stress that enough, because I know I'm going to have a bunch of people, well, this doesn't apply on a 42. Well, I understand that. They're different helmets. So you got to understand that the M35 these are produced from 35 to 40 for 5 years. Most of the time during peacetime, it's just build-up time. They cared about quality, which brings us to the rim. Okay, the rolled rim on the M35. That's what sets it apart from the M42. The M40 had a rolled rim as well, just the stamped rivets. So this takes a while to do, okay? You know, with the Germans, I'm just going to kind of give you a run around right here. Sorry about the lighting, kind of. You see how neat that is? I mean, it's obviously not perfect, because it's almost impossible to do this job perfect unless you're, making it for, like Rolex is making one helmet, But you see how it's pretty uniform, and it's actually pretty thick, right? What they did is they actually would fold it, they'd fold the excess back, kind of, to create like a little divot right here, and they'd fold it over and crimp it under itself, like in a little pocket on the edge of the rim. So it wasn't just folded back, it was actually tucked under so it wouldn't come unraveled, which is pretty cool. Very hard to do. A lot of repros just kind of fold it back, which you'll see on the other one. right? Obviously, you know, these parts were the hardest, so these aren't really the best judge if it's an original or not, but like the rest of it, very uniform, okay? Again, this is the original that I'm holding right now and showing you. Now, again, the reason I said this is one of the best repros I've seen is because of this part, okay? It looks pretty good. Obviously, you got a little kink right there, and what I've noticed is it's way too thin. I'll try to hold these up side by side, right? For the depth. Yeah, there we go. Alright, you see how on the right, the original has got more depth to it, and it's kind of more rounded than it is just folded back like you can see this is. Like there's a gap underneath. If you can stick a knife or, you know, a pen or something underneath that gap right there, that is a clear indicator. Let me try to show you. That is a clear indicator that your helmet is a repro. If you can see under this fold right there, that is a dead giveaway that it's a reproduction. On these, you can kind of see under it, but again, God, I'm sorry, just the lighting just, I can never win, no matter if I have a million lights up or not. You can't stick a pen in there, and there's really no gap, because it's tucked in and it's pressed up hard. So that's another really easy way to tell if you have a repro. This one's even and everything, relatively even for a reproduction, for those of you that haven't, you know, seen a good repro. This is what they look like. Again, not deep enough, and it is still really sloppy, and it doesn't fold the excess under itself. It just folds it back onto itself to make it rolled. Okay, so this video is getting a little bit lengthy, but it's worth it to save a few bucks. Well, not a few, a lot of bucks, and to actually get an original. Now, I'm gonna close with one thing that I was taught by a mentor of mine a long time ago about German helmets in specific, just pretty much any old military surplus item, is one of these is definitely not like the other. Okay? Liners, you're not going to probably find an original that's that new. This looks pretty damn new for an original. This is usually what they're going to be, not new, but good for an original. That's kind of the condition they're going to be in from here about to worse, okay? Because you got to figure 70 plus years. These are probably worn a little bit. That obviously is new, but you can make it look like this. If you can put alcohol on it and light it on fire and it kind of ages it like that. But there's one thing that no matter how hard you try to like use salt water or dye or whatever to get this color and kind of the crustiness, kind of dried feeling, do this. Give it a good smell. And I know it sounds weird and dumb. You cannot, unless this you made a reproduction in like 1951 at the latest, you cannot fake that smell. You can't fake the smell at all. The old musty smell of an old German helmet liner, there is no other way to mimic that smell. And anything you try to do to age the liner is going to take that away and make it impossible and make it smell new and kind of chemically. Right? This smells like leather. This smells like musty leather. Can't fake it. And that's my actual telltale thing. Like, honestly, I just say that to last, to kind of, you know, little surprise, little cherry on the top of the sundae. That's the first thing I will do, is I will pick it up and I will smell it. And if it smells it, then I'll continue to look at it, like critique it and make sure it's real. If it doesn't have that smell, I look at it for a little bit and set it back down and move on, because there's no friggin' way it can be real. The reason I didn't talk about the liner band is because a lot of the repros are dead on and they're not that hard to make. I'm not going to take them out of here because this is the original and I don't want to keep taking it in and out. This liner band in here is correct, and it's got the same manufacturer that I've seen on originals and as on my original M35. So that's why I didn't take the bands out and talk about those, because those can be this old and look really new. So that's really all I've got, guys. I'm sorry this video was so long, but I really hope you guys learned something. I wish somebody would have been able to kind of tell me about this back in the day, because I almost got burned a few times. But all right, I'll quit rambling, guys. If you're new to the channel and you like this video, hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I saved you a little bit of hassle. Go ahead and like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. And for those of you that are already subscribed and all my faithful watchers, I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And if you consider supporting me on Patreon, obviously I'm a mainly military surplus and firearm channel, and YouTube's algorithm kind of screwed me over on the revenue, so in order to get cool stuff like this to review and do more gun videos and stuff, we have resorted to Patreon, as much as I hate it. So if you consider supporting me on there, there's a link in the description. If not, that's fine, but I would appreciate it if you did. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.